What you doing? Nothing. Exactly. Comparing ourselves to this person, comparing ourselves to that person. Comparison. Can we even stop? Let's talk about it. And do you realize it always happens when we're about to embark on something new? I don't even know what that is. Today I want to talk to you about comparison. Oh, my name's Dwayne Valentino, filmmaker, DP. I hope you like the moody lighting. Kind of cool. Gives a serious tone, sets the tone. So yeah, today I want to talk to you about comparison and why we do it and why it basically hurts us. Comparison is the theft of all joy. I know you've heard that statement before, but it really is true. Why? Because generally when we compare ourselves to others, what usually happens? We usually are worried about not stacking up, not comparing, not being as good as, right? These are all negative emotions. So in today's video, I want to give you some steps that may help you or stop you from comparing as much. And there's an element to this that we're going to talk about: competition and comparison and the difference between the two. Comparison also brings about a sense of like a loop of behavior that just spirals downwards. So it's sort of like being trapped in Groundhog Day territory, but instead of you repeating the day and just going crazy, you're repeating the behavior of looking at others, recognizing that you won't stack up. Who hasn't done that, right? Something of a personal story is that for me, embarking on this YouTube thing and starting this channel, I realized like I couldn't not but compare, right? You're in a particular niche, you're in a particular space, and you're going to look at those in that space, you know, how amazing they are. You know, one, you're not at that place, and two, will you ever get there? And you start doubting yourself. In filmmaking, just in general, we tend to compare ourselves. And like I said, there is a difference between this and competition, which we'll talk about later. But a thing about, you know, the filmmaking space that I used to compare myself with when I was younger was that these incredible filmmakers started off so early in the game, right? They made these kind of amazing films. I mean, one of the examples is Orson Welles with Citizen Kane, still considered to be one of the greatest films ever made. I think he was like, what, 24? And look at how long ago that was. You got PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, with Boogie Nights. And actually, Boogie Nights wasn't his first film. You tend to think, well, I haven't done that, right? I didn't start so early. How could I possibly stack up? And that used to bother me when I was younger. There's one thing acknowledging that it is normal and it does happen. It's another thing to stay in that space of comparison. So let's talk a little bit about comparison versus competition. Because if you talk from both perspectives, they seem pretty similar. So what's the differences? Okay, so the similarities first are that they both involve you evaluating others. Sorry guys, there's something out there and it's making a whole lot of noise. Okay, I mean, the similarities is that they involve you evaluating yourself against another person. The differences is with comparison, you're often thinking about measuring up and the similarities that make you similar to the other person and how you measure up to them and whether you can measure up or whether you surpass them, right? Again, about that little sort of ego boost that you get if you think you're better. And then competition is about measuring up, but it's also recognizing that this person is really good, but you one day would love to surpass them. and improve and be better. And that often, and I say often, not always, of course, brings about more positive emotions. It brings about determination, perseverance, kind of moving forward. Obviously, competition can be toxic as well, right? Being competitive can be toxic. There's some great films about the nature of like pursuing something and being competitive and just going crazy. But comparison is something that pretty much almost always leads us down a bad, negative path. I'm going to give you 6 strategies, tips, strategies. I think these are things you might even know of. It's just we need to always be reminded of the things that help us. Number 1, focus on our strengths. Focus on our strengths can be a challenging one at times. So what does it take? It takes us recognizing that we do have strengths. We do have certain things that we do that are unique to us, and we do them well. And maybe it's a personality, temperament thing, I don't know, but it could be the fact that you're really good with people, that you are very sociable and understanding of people and can really work well with them. And that's a strength. So focus on your strengths. Focus on the things that you do really well. On a good day, you know those things. Number 2, compare yourself to who you were yesterday and not who someone else is today. You might have heard this. I know some of you might have anyway, but I think it's a good phrase, and it generally talks about or means you're trying to compare yourself only to who you were yesterday. You're trying to be a little bit better than you were yesterday, and that could take many different forms and shapes. So for instance, maybe you handled more things to do with your business, or maybe there's some particular piece of work that you're trying to get finished. Maybe you've done a little bit more. It's a kind of abstract thing, but it's quantifiable to you. It's exactly what you feel you've improved or what you've completed more of. That is comparing yourself to yesterday and being a little bit better. Number 3, being grateful, having gratitude, and celebrating those around you. That's the one thing that I think tends to be lost in this conversation. Is one of the things you can do to help you not compare yourself to others so much is be grateful for the things that you have in your life, but also celebrate those around you. They are just, striving to do better as you are. And when they do something that is quite amazing, or, that you think is just great, let them know. Look for ways in which you can express your gratitude to them and express the fact that they've done really well. That will really shift you from having to compare yourself to another person. It really shifts that mindset, and it helps you to recognize that being grateful for the other person is way more important, and it's way more important to recognize their strengths as well as yours. So practice gratitude, be grateful, and celebrate the win of others around you. Number 4, embrace imperfection. Embracing the imperfect. Embrace the fact that you are never gonna get things perfect. It's the perfectionist mindset, isn't it? I mean, us creatives have it all the time. And there's nothing initially wrong with that mindset, because I think it just comes with the territory. But I want you to embrace the imperfect, embrace the fact that while you're trying to strive for some idea of perfect, you won't ever get it. And that's okay, because it's a subjective thing anyway, and your perfect may be someone else's meh. So this idea of perfect, is a barrier to sort of action and a barrier to getting things done, because it never really is it? I can't think of one time where I've done anything to do with the work or anything like that, where I've stood back and I've been like, wow, how perfect is that? There's always one little thing that I've always realized, like, oh man, if I could have just done that. There's always one little thing. So embrace imperfection. Embrace the fact that you're not gonna get it always right. And there's no such thing as like perfect. there's such thing as striving to do something great, true and honest, but there's no thing as perfect. And number 5, self-compassion. Having compassion for yourself and talking to yourself as if you would talk to a friend. Now, this is a part I've definitely struggled with, because I think as a creative person, you naturally are quite hard on yourself. I mean, if you're truly trying to create something really good, you're naturally hard on yourself. One of the reasons why this is a strategy is because sometimes you have to give yourself grace and recognize that, you know, being hard on yourself it's not going to bring about a completely better person. It's not going to bring about a better you. You're not going to love yourself anymore if you berate yourself, if you are completely hard on yourself. Try and practice self-compassion. Try and recognize you should have grace too. Tip number 6, where does most of our comparison happen? Our comparison tends to happen when we're on social media, right? When we're online and we're often looking in our social media feeds, and we are just like comparing ourselves constantly, comparing ourselves to the fact that this person's done this particular work, or this person's got this position, and oh, this person seems so great. But what is all of that? It's their highlight reel. It's their showing off to the world how well they're doing. And I think that's part of human nature. And what social media has done is given a place in which to do that. None of that is usually helpful, because in the end, we're always trying to strive to do something better, or do something, you know, truer and more honest. And if you are walking around as if like you've done it all, or you've been, or you're as great as you can be, it stops you from actually improving yourself, because if you know it all, then you don't need nothing else. Whereas if we are constantly on a road of discovery, and we're constantly on a road of trying to improve these incremental improvements, you know, 0.1% each day, you know, these things compound. They're much more of a better mental way of moving forward. What we want to do with social media is we want to take a break. When we're looking and we find ourselves overly looking way too much, I think it's important for us to pull back. I've had to do it at times, and you don't have to announce it to anyone or announce it online, because what's the point? That kind of defeats the point. You just simply be on it less. Find something that you want to do, much more preferably, and do that thing, and just turn off or cut off the social media feed and don't look at it. If you can consume less social media, you'll probably have more time to do the things you want to do, or do the work you want to do. Give yourself grace. Even though it does happen and it's a natural thing, we shouldn't stay in that space. We shouldn't just sit in it and have a comparison loop happen. Incremental improvement. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Compound the effect by constantly just comparing yourself to being better. I'm sure you've looked at work where you've seen it from the previous time, and could be just the same way with these videos, is that you'll see work that you've done from the previous years and you'll think, wow, did I do that? That's terrible. And then you look at work that you're doing now and you recognize like the improvement you've made, and that's quantifiable. You know, you see gradual improvements, but don't stop. Keep making those improvements, and even if they're small, it doesn't matter. The important point is that you are continuing to make those improvements. Let's look to improve a little bit each day. Make incremental improvements, and recognize that we should give ourselves grace for when it does happen. We don't need to compare ourselves to others. We just need to accept that we ourselves are on our own journeys, and our own journeys are what matters to us. If you've watched the video this far, thank you very much. I'd love to see you in the next one. Subscribe, like, and share. And I wanna celebrate you. I wanna celebrate your win. Move forward. Do do so in a great way, and I look to see you guys soon. You take care. Peace out.